All right, today we're gonna have a little fun. I'm going to be reacting to TikTok candle making hacks, tips, tricks, whatever you want to call them. I'm in the mood to do another one of these. And I like to do these because not only are sometimes they just entertaining and fun, but I also kind of pick up some tips and learn some things along the way myself. So there's several reasons I like to do these. So I jumped on TikTok, I just searched candle making tips or something like that, and then I just kind of, got a huge list of them, and I just kind of selected a bunch and saved them. So I haven't seen these yet either. I'll be watching these for the first time with you, so I don't know what we're gonna get. We might get some really good stuff, we might get some really cringy stuff. Yes, I am a professional candle maker. I mean, I do this for a business. So there are going to be things that we see that I might not agree with and might find like off-putting. And of course I'll say that. And then there's going to be things that I do agree with. But either way, the point of this isn't to really like say what's right or wrong. It's just to have a little bit of fun, react to them. And it's just fun. That's all. It's just fun. By the way, I forgot to say, if you are new to the channel, my name's Wade with Black Tie Barn. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love to have you. So hit subscribe below, give this video a thumbs up, and let's dive right in. All right, it looks like this first video here, I haven't started yet. It just says, let's make a DIY mosquito repellent candles. And let's take a look. Blows it. Oh, she wants us to come with her. Okay. Let's see, cutting up some fruit. Yeah, I mean, there's certain fruits like lemon for sure that will keep mosquitoes away. She's gonna fill a jar. That just says that's just tap water. So that's not oil or anything. So she's gonna have to use something else. Oh, she's just using that. Okay, I gotta pause it real quick. All right, so she's just filling a jar that is fragranced with fresh lemon and lime. And that's just filled with water. At first I thought this was gonna actually be like a vegetable oil that what she was using to create a candle, but not. It's just a water bed for the tea light. So think of the jar as just like a tea light holder. There's nothing wrong with this at all. This is not really a new technique. You're probably not gonna get a ton of fragrance coming from it because it's not the actual wax or fragrance that's getting evaporated or dissipated into the air. But you'll get a little bit of it because it's just surrounding the candle itself. So not bad at all, would definitely work, nothing really wrong with this. It's probably just cheaper to buy a citronella candle, if we're being honest. But if you're a DIYer, which is the purpose of this video, then sure, it would work. Next. All right, candle making TikTok hack for tunneling candles. All right, so before we go any further, if you're new to the candle making, tunneling is where you burn the candle and it just wants to go right down the middle. And you're leaving a bunch of wax on the sides and it's not really consuming all of the wax. A little bit is normal. Tunneling is when it's happening, it's so significant that the candle never really catches up or performs well again. So that's what the issue is that they're gonna talk about here. So let's go ahead and watch the rest. All right, so she's just wrapping the jar with aluminum foil. That's to help trap the heat in. So as it burns down, more heat stays inside the jar. All right, let's go ahead and pause it. More heat will stay inside the jar as the candle's burning, and that extra heat being trapped in will help melt down that wax that was on the side of the jars. And so yes, it would definitely work on that issue. And it's a common tactic to kind of rescue a failing or tunneling candle. However, there is a huge caveat to this, and all of these type of videos leave this out, so I want to make sure that everyone understands this. This will only work if the tunneling is not significant and the wick can handle it. And so what do I mean by that? Well, there's way too much wax built up around the outside. If you melt down too much wax, all of that melted wax goes down into the pool, right? And so if there's too much, all of that extra wax can actually come down and just drown out the wick. Like there's just too much. So there are times where this will not work. You want to kind of catch this problem early before it becomes too significant. Next. All right. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna stop it real quick. So yeah, if you didn't know, this kind of cheese is coated with a food grade wax. It's probably some kind of paraffin food grade wax. So he's just going to take out the cheese and save the wax. Yeah, there you go. Just a bunch of leftover wax, and looks like he's gonna roll them all into like a cylinder. And then I'll be curious what he uses for the wick. Twine, okay, that'll work. It's not the most efficient way to absorb fuel and burn it, but it'll work for something like this for sure. Or at least I think it would. A little hot dog. Yeah. All right, cool. So fun, creative little DIY thing to do at home. Most of this I think would work just fine. I don't know how well the twine would burn. I mean, the twine will burn fine, but a wick isn't just, the purpose of a wick is not just to burn. It's also meant to absorb the wax and then feed it through like a capillary action up to the flame. That's what keeps the flame going, and that's how a candle works. So I don't know how well twine would do that, but I imagine for something like this size, it probably would work all right. Might try it sometimes, that seems kind of fun. I don't really see anything wrong with this. If you're gonna eat the cheese anyways and just toss the wax, well, it's fun. I don't see any harm in doing this. I don't really need another excuse to eat more cheese, but I may have just found one. Hacks to make your candles last longer. Put it in the freezer for an hour or so. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna stop it real quick. I'm not a fan of this for several reasons. I know that there are some people that say it kind of works and can kind of help. The only time that like freezing a candle, in my opinion, has really helped at all is if you're using like a pillar or votive candles or like tarts that need to be popped out of some kind of mold. It can help them just release a little bit easier. But I don't personally really find any advantage or benefit, and I don't really recommend freezing your container candles for a couple reasons. First of all, they can crack, and candles that start cracking can start causing some other issues. They don't look very good. It can actually cause air pockets where the cracks formed, and that can cause other issues or disruptions when it's burning. But the point in this video is that freezing it will help it last longer. Well, that's true because it's not going to burn as well. I mean, that's the compromise here. So it lasts longer because the wax becomes harder, which means the wick won't consume the fuel, the wax, as quickly. But the whole point of a candle is to have this optimal balance so that the wick does burn the wax appropriately, and it has good consumption rate and continues to feed the flame and keep it going and make it a really well performing candle. If you get wax that is too hard or too cold, you're effectively raising the melt point at that point. A lot of points. And when you do that, the flame will actually struggle a little bit. The candle will struggle to perform like it should. Usually minor adjustments, minor changes in temperature are not going to cause a significant issue. But if you're freezing your candle and then trying to burn it right afterwards, it could struggle and the wick could just flat out drown out, or it might just tunnel on you. That's a really good way to cause your candle to tunnel, is by freezing it first. So we'll finish out though. Now she's saying to burn the candle long enough, and if it struggles to well, isn't that ironic? She's talking about now wrapping the candle to help with the ketchup. Well, you probably wouldn't have needed to do that if you didn't freeze the candle. Just saying, just saying. But yeah, as we talked about earlier, the aluminum foil will help things catch up a little bit if you need it, but you're not helping yourself by freezing the candle first, because then you're almost assuring yourself that you got to do this. So that'd be my advice on this one, is I personally would not freeze your candles. Maybe that's just me. All right. Next, candle making tip. Tall jar, hard to get your hand in there to wick it. That's definitely true. Using the tube of a pen or a straw. Yep, this is a pretty common little tip for new candle makers. And yeah, it definitely works. It's a way to add some rigidity. Allows you to reach into the jar further, place the wick. It definitely works great. All right, so yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with this tip. It's a very common tip. It certainly works. It doesn't necessarily help you get a wick in the center, but it helps you at least place the wick. So yeah, any of you that want to try this or have been struggling with this kind of problem, definitely try this. It's very easy, quick fix. However, if any of you are looking for another solution that you don't really have to do this, I will leave a link in the description below. I hope I remember to do this, of the tool that I like to use. I've actually changed the tool I've used over the years, but I now use this new tool from Norden Candle Supply that I actually like much better. And the cool thing is they fit all sorts of different jars, and they're cost effective too. So I really love them. I'll link it below. It makes this whole process much easier. Not only does it help you set the wick in whatever size jar, but it also makes sure it gets centered. Double whammy. Next. Behind the scenes look at how we smooth out a rough candle. She's filling in a sinkhole. Easy peasy, follow from more. Okay, so yeah, not a whole lot of context in this video, but you saw in the video there's a sinkhole next to the wick, and it's caused this, obviously, a top that needs some attention. Using a heat gun to fill it in. Most of you watching this probably very familiar with this. The one important piece of information I think that's left out of this short little video, and I understand these are short videos, you can't add like everything, all information into it, but there's an important piece of context that I think does need to be included. If you see a hole like that or a dip around the wick, just heating the top to fill that in often isn't really taking care of the whole problem. Because if you see a dip or a hole in one spot, there's a very good chance that there's another one somewhere else, and you don't really know unless you actually open that cavity up even more. Or the other side of the wick, you might want to check that spot as well. So one thing you can do is just take like a skewer or something and just kind of poke in there and see if you notice any other holes, and maybe open up the existing cavity a little bit more. Make sure there's nothing else that needs filled in. I would do that before you just kind of blanket heat the top and fill in what you do see. Because a lot of times there's stuff that you don't see. Next, candle making tip that saves time and money. Make a candle normal but with no wick. Okay, wickless testing. I'll let her finish. So she pours the candle, no wick. She pokes a hole in the center. You're gonna add a wick in and then test that wick. She put it in upside down. All right, I'm gonna stop it real quick before she finishes. First of all, this is called wickless testing. Again, many of you might be familiar with this. It's sort of marketed as a good way to test your candles without going through as much materials like wax and fragrance oils. So you can just put in a wick, and then if that wick doesn't work, you can take it out and put in another one and keep testing until you find the right one. It's kind of works and kind of doesn't. If it's a tall jar and there's plenty of wax to support a wick that isn't secured at the bottom, it can help you determine if a pretty good idea if a wick is going to work or not. So you can definitely save some money trying that. I would still advise you do a normal test after that though, just to confirm it's going to work. And the reason I say that is because if the wick is not secured to the bottom, as it burns down, the wick will actually start to move a little bit on you, and it could start sinking down further into the wax or falling to one side. And you're not getting a very good indication if the wick is actually working as it normally would if it was secured to the jar. So I don't want to go into a ton of detail. I've got a video, I'll link that video, that talks about why I don't do wickless testing, but you can do it if you're just getting started and you're just trying to find out like generally what type and size of wick might be close, but I would certainly test normally after that just to confirm your results. But the other thing is you just saw, let me back it up here, that she put it in upside down. And the reason she does that is, the main reason is she's just sticking it in, then she's gonna trim it off. Let me just show you real quick. Yeah, so he just snips it off. Now, I don't recommend that way. I would trim the wick first at the base and then stick it in the same way that you would have the right direction. So if the base was gonna normally be in the bottom, I would trim it and make sure that end of the wick goes in first. You're probably wondering, why does that matter? Well, in a lot of wicks, it won't matter because they are multi-directional wick, and it really doesn't matter. You could certainly do this. But there are many wicks, like an RRD wick, for example, that is a directional wick. And there are others as well, which means that they are designed to burn in one direction, not the other. So if you put it in upside down, you're not really getting a very accurate test. And so I would just get in the habit of always putting in the wick the correct way, the way that you would if you kept the tab on. So a little bit of a bonus kind of pro tip there. If you guys were not familiar with that, there are directional and bidirectional wicks. And so if you don't know which kind you have, I would just be on the safe side and put the wick in the right way. So now she's just showing here that if the wick doesn't work, you can grab some pliers and pull it out, which is, yeah, works fine if there's enough wax in there to hold the wick. But like I mentioned earlier, in some jars, they're either too shallow or the wax will just get so soft, especially your waxes that are softer by nature, and the wick will just end up laying down and falling over and you won't get much of a test. So, all right, enough rambling. Move on. Next. Dollar Tree hack, 4-wick candle. All right, she's gonna melt down 4 candles from Dollar Tree, although that's 5. Not 4. Oh, she's making a 4-wick candle. Okay. All right, so they filling up this bucket, adding a little bit more, looks like essential oils. This is gonna be a very, very light scented candle, I can tell you that by how much she was putting in. Trimming the wicks down, lighting the candle, showing it off a little bit. Cool looking candle, but let's go ahead and talk about all the issues with this. All right, so like I said, it's a good looking candle and there's nothing wrong with this, especially if you're just doing it for fun, at home, DIY, whatever. And this is someone who just tries a lot of kind of craft hacks, so there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that. But if you're like a serious candle maker and wondering if this is what you could do for actual, like professional quality candles, then it's definitely a no. And the reasons are, one, you have no idea what kind of wax is in these jars that she's melting down. If you don't know what kind of wax, then how do you know what kind of wicks to use or what size of wicks to use? There's no way of knowing. And so if you've been making candles for a little time at all, you know that the type of wax you're using has a significant effect on the kind of wick you can use. Some wicks work better with different kind of wax, but not only that, you would have no way of knowing what size of wicks to use either, especially if you haven't tested it yet. All right, I digress. The other issue with this one is the fragrance. Again, DIY, this doesn't really matter, but with essential oils, you have to be very careful. You can't just kind of like lackadaisically just add essential oils however you want. You really can't do it with the fragrance oils either. There's a certain amount that you can use, but essential oils, it's even more important to be careful with because they can be very toxic and they can also ignite very easily. And so you have to use much less essential oils than you can fragrance oils that are made for candles. But beyond knowing like how much to use or how much you can use, a few drops here and there that she put in, I don't know that it would have any scent at all. It's probably not enough to add any fragrance. So that's just the problem with something like this is it's fun, it works for a DIY, but new candle makers sometimes see this video and think this is like how you would make an actual candle, and it's obviously not how you would make a normal candle. So just keep that in mind when you see some of these fun kind of craft hacks. All right, next, what else we got? Beginner candle making tips. Always wipe down your jars with rubbing alcohol. Helps the wick stick. Okay, I'm gonna just pause it real quick because this one's a little bit longer of a video. So the first point of cleaning out the jars, rubbing alcohol. Yep, I do that quite frequently, especially if I have any concern that the jars are not perfectly clean. So very common, a lot of people do this. The one suggestion I would offer though is if you're going to do that, make sure you give it enough time. You get all of the rubbing alcohol out and then you let it sit, like make sure it air dries a little bit, because what you don't want is any leftover residual alcohol left in the jar. You don't want that mixing with your wax. That could be bad. So just make sure it's really dry. As far as the wick, if I back up a little bit, she made these little templates that fit her jar perfectly, and you can place the wick so you know it's centered. Yep, obviously great tip. You can make your own templates if you want. The tool that I mentioned earlier in the description will do this for you. And then you can also buy other little templates that are already pre-made by several suppliers as well. So, you know, not knowing exactly what jars you're using, we're all using different stuff. I can't really recommend a specific place to get what you need, but yeah, this tip definitely works. Yep, weighing your wax, great tip. Always weigh your wax. Don't measure it by volume, definitely weigh it. She's using a double boil method to melt down the wax. It's a great way to start. Stir your fragrance for 2 minutes. I don't think you have to stir fragrance for a certain amount of time. Like that's an arbitrary number. There's no scientific proof that 1:45 is not long enough and 2 minutes is exactly right. That's just not, it's just more of a guideline. The main point here is to make sure that you're stirring your fragrance long enough that it just blends in and it actually binds well with your wax. If you just toss in fragrance real quick and just do that and then pour, that's not enough. I'm not trying to encourage anyone not to stir long enough, just that 2 minutes is kind of an arbitrary number, but I think you know what I mean. Sets the jars in aluminum foil while they're cooling. And that's to help them settle better, less imperfections, settle, cool more evenly. All right, so yeah, that's the end of that video. All right, so another decent tip, it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. It just depends on the rest of your pouring surface. If you're pouring on something that's normally very, very cold, like a cold countertop, then yeah, certainly this is a good idea, because you don't want your candles cooling so quickly from the bottom that it causes the wax to like shrink down really fast. You want it to cool as evenly as possible. So making the surface underneath a little more conductive or keep the heat in better, it will slow down the cooling rate from top to bottom. So definitely a good tip. It's just whether or not it works or to what extent it will work for you, that's the debatable point. It's hard to tell. The type of wax you're using is gonna cause a change in its effectiveness. The ambient temperature of your room, the temperature you poured your wax, the countertop you're pouring on. There's so many factors that go into this. But if you are struggling with a candle that seems to be cooling too quickly and kind of shrinking down very, very fast, definitely give this a shot. There's no harm in trying this. It's cheap, and so it's worth a shot. All right, next up here. Looks like she's got some 464 flaked wax here. All right, adding dye into her melted wax. Oh my God, that's a lot. That's a lot of mica. Or looks, I'm assuming that's mica. Okay, hold on. I'm sure this is gonna look fantastic when it's done, but holy cow, that was a lot. I don't know, again, not trying to say something's right or wrong, but I would never use that much if it was me. Now, I should also say that I don't know exactly what material she's using. There are things that are okay to use in candles and other materials that shouldn't be used in candles. I think this is probably a candle maker or someone that makes candles to some degree. So it's probably candle safe material, but micas and other additives like this can really clog up your wicks really badly. And if that happens, the wick just flat out won't perform. They can perform, but you might end up with wicks that have major giant carbon buildups or mushrooms on the top that start smoking and sooting like crazy. But more likely, you're gonna have a wick that just kind of drowns out and struggles because it gets clogged up by this stuff. So I have tested candles where people used mica and it looked really nice and the results were fine. They burned fine as well. I've never seen anyone use this much though. Let's continue a little bit. Yeah, so it looks amazing, like a galaxy. Looks really cool. Yeah, she even said galaxy. All right, so she's doing several things that are absolutely right here. Like, I really do think that this person does make candles. Like, this isn't just like a one-off. She's using candle making tins. She's got the wick centered properly. She's using a popsicle stick with a hole in the top to keep the wick centered while it cools. For me, it's just the amount of mica that's being used, or whatever it is, glitter mica. You saw it. I know it's appealing. I know it's like eye-catching, and it's like, man, you really want to try it. It looks awesome. I would just caution you though. You can try it if you want, but you just got to be careful because a lot of wicks won't even be able to handle that. So if you do try it, be just weary that you might have to change your wicks entirely. A wick that can handle more viscosity, like this one would need, a hotter burning wick, a wick that has more of an open core structure so that it can feed fuel a little easier than one that's like a tight knit. I'm going really into the weeds there, but my point is that much mica can cause problems. So I'm sure it's working for her okay, but not something I would really recommend doing. So if you're gonna do it, make sure you test it thoroughly. All right, so that's all I got for you today. Hope you guys enjoy it. A lot of fun for me. Appreciate you for being here. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if you like these kind of videos. I've only done a couple, and so if you like them, I'll do more. If not, then, well, I still might do some. I don't know. But let me know what you think, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks.